Bushy, the squirrel, was furious. Someone had stolen his nuts. All autumn long, he had been busy gathering hazelnuts, chestnuts, beechnuts, and sometimes, if he was very lucky, even a few walnuts. As he did every year, he had used many different hiding spots, because he knew that other animals sometimes stumbled upon his stashes. But most of them, and the tastiest looking ones at that, were hidden right at his home inside a large oak tree. Outrageous! Still fuming, he went first to Berta, the lazy goose, and asked, "Hey, Berta, have you seen my nuts?" But Berta just shook her head and yawned. Berta had decided not to fly south this winter, yet she had made no effort to prepare for the cold. Someone that lazy certainly didn't steal my nuts, he thought, and moved on. Next, he passed the mole's nest and asked his friend Woppi if he had seen anyone suspicious near his tree. "Is that a joke?" Woppi asked, pointing to his giant glasses, through which he still could barely see, before heading back into his nest, shaking his head. Woppi hadn't stolen his nuts either. After all, they were good friends. He crept carefully past the fox's den to avoid ending up as a winter snack himself. Shortly after, he saw Magda the magpie flying into her nest. Magda was always stealing things. She loved anything that sparkled. And even now, she had something shimmering in her beak. However, it didn't look like one of his nuts. Nevertheless, he crept cautiously toward Magda's nest to surprise her. Then he jumped out and shouted, "Have you seen my nuts?" Startled, Magda dropped the silver spoon from her beak before replying indignantly, "Why would I steal your nuts? You've probably just forgotten where you put them again. Now leave me alone." She abruptly turned around and flew away. Disappointed, Bushy sat down on a branch. "I know for a fact that they were in the oak," he muttered. Suddenly, a rhythmic hammering sounded above him. Tap, tap, tap. It was Pizza, the woodpecker. He was hammering against the bark so eagerly that wood chips were flying everywhere. "Pizza," Bushy called up, "you sit up here all day. Have you seen anyone at my oak tree?" Pizza paused, clinging to the trunk with his sharp claws, and tilted his head. "Seen? Oh, yes, I've seen plenty of things," he croaked. "A very strange fellow. He was small, brown, and he looked as if he had swallowed a tennis ball in both the left and right side." Bushy frowned. "Tennis balls? What do you mean by that?" "Well, his face," Pizza chuckled, tapping his wing with his beak in amusement. "It was so wide that he could hardly fit through the bushes." He waddled over toward the old granary at the edge of the field. But Harry, he looked like he was about to burst. Bushy didn't hesitate. With great leaps, he dashed toward the edge of the field. And there, in the tall grass in front of a small burrow, he saw a pair of tiny legs kicking wildly in the air. Someone was stuck. Bushy stepped closer and could hardly believe his eyes. A small field hamster was stuck in the entrance to his burrow. He was desperately trying to push himself through the opening, but his head was huge, far too wide for the tunnel. "Caught you!" Bushy cried, putting his hands on his hips. The hamster stopped and only let out a muffled "mmm." His cheeks were so stuffed that he couldn't even close his mouth. "Spit them out this instant," Bushy demanded, and with a loud pop, like a cork flying out of a bottle, a whole load of walnuts, hazelnuts, and beechnuts shot out of the hamster's mouth, landing right at Bushy's feet. The hamster took a deep breath, visibly relieved that his head was back to its normal size. "I'm sorry, Bushy," he squeaked sheepishly. "They just looked so delicious, and I wanted to see how many would fit in my cheeks at once. Bushy looked at the pile of nuts lying in the dirt. He was still a bit angry, but when he saw how the little hamster looked at the ground in shame and rubbed his empty belly, his anger faded a little. You do realize I worked all autumn for those? Bushy said, crossing his arms. I know, the hamster squeaked softly. I didn't find enough this year, and when I saw your supplies, my cheeks just started gathering them all on their own. I'm sorry. Bushy sighed. If he was honest, he actually had enough for 2. Look, Bushy said, pushing 3 of the largest walnuts toward the hamster with his paw. You can have these, but on one condition. If you're hungry, just ask next time, and in return, you're going to help me carry the rest back to my oak. But this time in your paws and not your cheeks, please. The hamster beamed from ear to ear. It's a deal. Together, they set to work and spent the rest of the afternoon stowing the nuts safely away. As the sun began to set, the squirrel and the hamster sat high up in the oak tree, nibbling on a hazelnut together. Bushy realized that nuts tasted much better when you didn't eat them alone. He may have lost a few nuts, but he had gained a new friend.